Hey guys, welcome back to My Anime Heroes Customs. We're taking a break momentarily from anime builds and going back to gaming franchise builds. We have Kasumi from DOA, Dead or Alive. Hope you guys enjoy this. For the past few weeks, we've been using this female body from Heng Toys, and now we're using the XXL bust size of this female body. And of course, we have 3D printed head sculpts from my partner shfiguarts. Make sure to check out his links in the description box below. And we've separated the head sculpt into 3 parts, which is the ponytail and the front bangs and the main head, so that I can paint them and access the head sculpt very easily. Checking out so our first step is to spray a primer gray onto the head sculpt. Let's do this. Looking at the results of the primer gray onto the head sculpts, now we can see the faces and the details much more clearly. We have a lot of excess resin on top of the prints, but don't worry, we can shave that off and cut it off using our hobby and paint and access the face very easily. Once we've cleaned out all of the parts, we can now use our Tamiya color spray paint, which is flat flesh, and match our skin tone to the body. While waiting for the head sculpt of Kasumi to dry, we will now head onto the body for